let us talk about the structure of the heart. For the external structure of the heart, what we can visualize is this part extending between the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. This is the right atrium, forming the right border of the heart. Projecting anteriorly from the right atrium is this ear-like projection. This ear-like projection overlaps the pulmonary trunk. This part is called the right auricle. Then, between the atrioventricular sulcus or the coronary sulcus and the interventricular sulcus, this part is the right ventricle. The right ventricle has the opening of the pulmonary trunk. Then, towards the left border of the heart or the apex of the heart, we have the left ventricle, which is separated from the right ventricle by the interventricular groove. Superior to the left ventricle is this projecting part, which is actually the extension of the left atrium of the heart. This is the left auricle. It also overlaps the opening of the pulmonary trunk. Posteriorly, these are the pulmonary veins, two on the left side and two on the right side, that open into the left atrium. This is the pulmonary trunk and its division. This is aorta, which extends from the left ventricle and the openings of the superior and the inferior vena cava. If we talk about the interior of the right atrium, what we can visualize is a smooth-walled part and a muscular part. The smooth-walled part of the right atrium is the remnant of the sinus venosus and is called sinus venarum. It has the opening of the superior vena cava superiorly, inferior vena cava inferiorly, and this is the extent of the right atrium, and the opening of the coronary sinus just above the opening of the inferior vena cava and between the opening of inferior vena cava and the atrioventricular orifice. We can also visualize part of the interatrial septum, which is represented as fossa ovalis. This fossa ovalis is the remnant of the foramen ovale. Then we can visualize the muscular part. The interior part is the muscular part. The smooth-walled part and the muscular part of the right atrium are separated from each other by a ridge of muscle which is called crista terminalis, which is represented outside by the sulcus terminalis. These muscles are called pectinate muscles and they project into the auricle of the right atrium. Talking about the atrioventricular orifice, what we can visualize is that it has three cusps, not visible here. These three cusps are attached by chordae tendineae, these fibers, to the papillary muscles of the right ventricle. These three. The papillary muscles, as there are three cusps of the valves, these are three papillary muscles, the septal, posterior, and the anterior papillary muscles. These keep the chordae tendineae taut during the ventricular contraction so that the cusps of the valves do not prolapse into the atrium during the contraction. The muscles of the right ventricle are called trabeculae carni. These trabeculae carni form ridges of the muscles in the ventricular wall. We can also visualize a smooth-walled part of the right ventricle, and this part is called conus or the infundibulum, which leads into its outflow, that is the pulmonary orifice. The pulmonary orifice is guarded by pulmonary semilunar valve, which also have three cusps in the face of a semilune or the lunar cusps. These are anterior, right, and left cusps of the semilunar valve. If we talk about the left atrium, we can visualize that it has pulmonary veins entering into it. This part between the bifurcation of the pulmonary trunk and the coronary sinus is the left atrium. It also has a projecting part which projects onto the root of the pulmonary trunk, and this part is called left auricle. Internally, what we can visualize is a smooth part and a muscular part. The muscles of the left atrium are called pectinate muscles. The smooth part of the left atrium has the openings of these pulmonary veins, two superior and two inferior openings on the right and left side. It also has a semilunar depression, which is for the fossa ovale. Alright, the atrioventricular orifice on the left side has two cusps, anterior and posterior cusps. As in the right part, what we said was that these cusps are attached to the chordae tendineae, which attach to the papillary muscles. In the left ventricle, there are only two papillary muscles, which attach to the cusps. As we said for the right ventricle, the muscles of the left ventricle are also called trabeculae carni, and the papillary muscles attaching to the atrioventricular cusps. This atrioventricular valve is also called the mitral or the bicuspid valve. We can also visualize here that the walls of the left ventricle as well as the interventricular septum are almost 3 times as large as or as thick as the wall of the right ventricle. The outflow part of the left ventricle is smooth. This part opens into the aortic orifice. This aortic orifice also guarded by semilunar cusps. These are also 3 in number as was the pulmonary orifice,